That question?
Sorry to go old school, I don't have to.
I should have offered the old school before analog worked. Yeah.
I suppose my question to the experts is when? When do I need to start planning technically? When do I need to start planning operationally? Because it will impact my organisation. When do I see some of the benefits of increasing liquidity of my asset classes? 1 year, 3 years, 5 years? I'd love to get a good feeling.
Yeah.
The question is when it started. It's yesterday, of course.
Yeah, but I mean, you know that ESMA has issued a discussion paper in end of May, so 3 months ago. The answers have been compiled early September. So as far as I see, at least the answers I've seen, most of the players see adoptions within the next 5-7 years. I mean, so the meaning that we will move from POCs, which is the current state, to pilots, production pilots over 17, 19, 18, and move of assets 2 or 3 years later, and full adoptions within the next 7 years. That's a bit the timeline which is apparently quite accepted amongst the different players who have answered the ESMA paper.
I mean, just to answer that question as well, I mean, we saw ABN AMRO just discuss that they are moving their pilot into production over the coming year. I mean, the answer from our side is, we're doing this now, and we're trying to move as quickly as possible. We come from a culture where we want to move quickly. That obviously comes with very specific considerations since we're dealing in the world of financial services, but we have to make sure that we have the right people to be able to accommodate those considerations as well. So we're working with about 100 banks today. 30 of them have actually implemented against their core systems or some kind of payment hub system. They're moving real money, and 10 of those 30 are moving into commercial production where they're actually building a service around their capability centered on Ripple to actually offer to clients, whether that's in the retail space, institutional space, or in the corporate cash management space as well. We think it's really important, this question. We need to deliver the goods in terms of what this technology is about. There's been a lot of talk about this over the past few years, and eventually it has to show some results. And it's what our organization is very focused on at the moment.
And I mean, even from a Temenos perspective, we've got 2,000 plus clients, and almost every single day I get a query around how do I implement this with your software. So it's something that is here now, and people are working on now.
My perspective is, I don't want just payments. I want a whole other options suite.
Yeah.
So I do everything. So I don't want to go through that pain point of multiple different entities I want to deal with. So that's one of my questions. Kids, and I say that's definitely like I want that.
Yeah. Did you hear that? So when does a whole new settlement kind of infrastructure exist that bypasses the existing?
I think we're talking about different things. I mean, there are solutions in place. I mean, Ripple is there. It's not something which is under development. It's a product. As you mentioned, ABN AMRO is about to allow to production some use cases, especially around trade finance. I was more referring about the big shift in assets. I mean, if you consider capital markets as a whole, when is the market really moving to blockchain? And that will not happen overnight, for sure. We are talking about, systematic risk, which would be moved to the blockchain, and it will take time. Doesn't mean that you have to wait for capturing value on the blockchain. I mean, we have run so many proof of concept over the last 2 years, all of us, that it's time to go to production now. Yeah. That's the key message. But does it mean that we will move trillion of assets to the blockchain tomorrow? Not at all. And this will take more time. And the regulator is not ready. I mean, discussion paper is discussion paper. We're not ready to discuss, other solutions. But there are plenty of use cases. We have developed something on the EMIR, SFTR, MiFIR reporting, which is using blockchain as a immutable place of, let's say, matching between the two counterparties on OTC derivatives trades. That's not huge, that's not complex, that's practical, and you can deploy it already now. So there are plenty of sub-domains around the core of capital markets which can already be improved by using blockchain, even if we have already solutions already in the market. And so it's time to move, but it will take time to be completely blockchainized.
One thing I've seen that's interesting in coming into the financial services sector out of a tech background is that obviously there's a lot of risk and there's apprehension to embrace the risk. And I think not trying to take this all at once. Like, you can't bite off that whole pie at the same time, that you have to embrace a culture of iteration, right? You have to try a little bit, take a little bit of risk, see how it works, because we're not going to get it right the first time. I mean, we've learned this many times over. So it's really about setting up an organization that is enabling people to take quantitative risk and iterate on that and increase the pie, because you're not going to eat it all, and say we're going to move all of our assets here at the same time. I think that would be a fool's errand.
And another dimension which is interesting, I think the process might be accelerated if, for good or bad reasons, but more for good reasons, central bank might issue, central bank money on the blockchain. If this move comes, the advantage of blockchains will be just obvious, that the acceleration will be extremely huge, and those discussions are happening nowadays. As you've seen some other surveys, most of the central banks are discussing about this possibility, and that's a real advantage we can imagine over the next years or months. Let's see.